We will now have a look to the service mechanism. A service is a class that executes a business or technical task. This class will be configurable. It will have state. We will see it in the next slide. It can be used by any users at the same time. It is used to make easier the separation into tiers. We have similar mechanism in FW3 with the factory and abstract factory patterns. To write a Tapestry service, you will use the Tapestry IOC module. IOC means inversion of control. With this module, Tapestry will automatically manage the life cycle and the instances of all your services. Here is the life cycle of the service. It is just for information. We will never have to use them. Tapestry is going to manage it automatically. In this lifecycle model, the real instantiation of the service is done as late as possible to allow the handling of interdependent services. The first step is defined. Tapestry found your service at the start of your application. It is present in your IOC module class, but for now, there is no class refers to it. Then we have virtual. When a class refers to the service, when we injecting it into a page, but we do not use it yet. At this state, Tapestry will create a proxy of your service. Realized when we use a method of your service, and finally shut down when Tapestry off its register and all proxies are disabled. We can use two scopes to define service. A scope will show the life of a service. Singleton, the default value, it is the instance of your service for all the users. Per thread, it's one instance per thread. This scope is useful if you want to use specific information, for example, from the user's request. To build a service, we will create an interface and provide an implementation. Finally, we will declare it in your IOC module class. There are two ways to declare your service in your IOC module: by using a naming convention or by using the service builder, a service provided by Tapestry. Then we will use our service in our pages by injecting it through the @inject annotation. We can also identify a service. If there is an ambiguity, for example, there is several implementations for the same service. We use the @inject annotation to inject it into our pages and in our components. The instance variable must have the type of the service interface. Tapestry will look for a service based on the type of the interface by using the alias service. If it does not find the service, it will return an exception. If several implementations for one interface exist, we can identify the service to use with the @service annotation, which takes as parameter the ID of the implementation, which will be specified in your IOC module. The interface defines the link between the proxy and its implementation. In the implementation, you can specify the scope with the @scope annotation and the scope constants class. The scope annotation can also be used in your app module. We will now define our service in the IOC module class of your application. The first way is to use a naming convention. In this example, we define a service, indexer, with its indexer AMPL implementation. We just have to create a method, build indexer service. Indexer service will be the ID of your service. This method will return an object of the same type as your service interface. Then, just create an instance of your service. With the build method, we will be able to inject parameters into a service. If you want to inject other services into your own, we will be able to use the @inject service annotation. In our example, we had choose other services, job schedulers, and file system. In Tapestry, we will manage them automatically. Another way for defining the service is to use the service binder service. We just need to add a bind method to your IOC module, which will take as parameter the service binder service. Then just use the bind method of the service binder object. This method takes two parameters, the interface of your service and its implementation. You can also specify an ID with the withID method. We will also be able to pass a parameter in the implementation. We just need to create a constructor with all the parameters you want to use. For example, here is injected service file system service. Tapestry will also manage them automatically. A service is a class that executes a business or technical task. This class will be configurable. It will have state. We will see it in the next slide. It can be used by any users at the same time. It is used to make easier the separation into tiers. We have similar mechanism in FW3 with the factory and abstract factory patterns. To write a Tapestry service, you will use the Tapestry IOC module. IOC means inversion of control. With this module, Tapestry will automatically manage the life cycle and the instances of all your services.